Alright, what's going on, guys? We've got the owner of the AE82 here today, Josh.
Hey guys, what's going on?
So, Josh is out here. We're going to turn the boost up today.
Yeah, so
We're going to turn it up to about 6 pound. Josh just wants to run.
so just stock NA 4AGs are pretty good at that, so I've read, but yeah, it's pretty much just a bog stock 4A big port that me and my brother sort of gave me a little bit of help. We put a turbo setup on it, really, and I just threw a bigger pump and got the guys down here to throw in the Microtech and bigger injectors and so on. So yeah, it's pretty much just a 1986 AE82 Corolla with a 4AG, and yeah, so just hoping to make some decent power today and see what we put down, so that way I sort of got something off for my forged motor. So yeah, it's pretty much, that's all I really got to say.
It's a
Yeah.
Garrett 3076.
Yep, Garrett 3076.
Yeah.
It's a dual ball bearing off GCG turbos. I have a tile, I think it's a 38mm external gate with a screamer pipe. The base boost is at 4 pound now, so I want to push it up to around 6-7 pound of boost. And yeah, pretty much it's just got a like a random turbo back exhaust that they sort of built. And yeah, at the moment it's all stock pretty much. So they say the big port heads can cop a bit of boost and so can the motors. So I'm not too keen on pushing it too far. So we're just going to go to 7 pound and keep it nice and see what we make, because at the end of the day I'm not really chasing big power. I want it to last, and the big power motor's sort of coming, so that's sort of where I want to go for 350 to at least 400 on the let's have some fun tune. So yeah, I figured I'll let the boys do their thing, and I just wanted to come and sort of watch it and see how it all works.
Yeah, so we're going to turn it up to 6 pound, and hopefully it still solds together. Fingers crossed. Anyway, I just thought I'd get Josh to tell you about the car, because I realised editing the other video that I actually didn't explain anything about the car, admittedly, because I didn't know a lot about them. Like I said to you guys, I'm still learning the 4A platform. I don't know a lot about these motors. Josh has been teaching me a bit this morning about the differences between big and small port and the GZE and that sort of thing. So yeah, definitely a cool little combo. So Josh has also bought out his new Innovate AFR gauge, which we'll chuck in once we've finished tuning. I just want to, because the Corolla, to get it on the dyno is a bit of a pain, and then to strap it down being front wheel drive, like I was saying, we strap it across ways. It's a bit of a pain in the bum. So I didn't want to like pull it off the dyno, do all that weld, like put the AFR gauge in and then have to put it back on the dyno and strap it up again. We don't really need the AFR to tune, we've got the AFR on the dyno. So I'm going to finish the tune off first at 6 pound. After that, we'll pull it off the dyno, we'll chuck it on the hoist, and we'll look at putting the AFR gauge in. And yeah, then Josh will be on his way, pretty much. But I've still got a fair bit of tidying up to do in the car still, where we wired it in, because I still haven't got the tacho working, so I didn't want to go wrapping everything up and stuff until I get everything working. So I've still got a bit to finish off on the car, which is fine. Josh won't be taking it till next weekend. But yeah, today he just wanted to be here. I wanted him here as well, again, because I don't particularly know the 4H platform. I don't really know how strong they are. I didn't know the differences between the big port and small port and that. So it's been cool to learn a bit from Josh about that, and have him here for us to turn up the boost so he can let us know what he's comfortable with, because yeah, I don't know. I'm super happy to push it to 6 pound. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Hopefully we make that sort of 150 plus. Righto guys, we have a winner. We got it to 7 pound. It's running on 7 pound. We ended up making 163.4 at the front wheel. So, what do you reckon, Josh?
800 kilo car, I expect it to be pretty good. So
Yeah, no, I think it's got to be a handful. It's going to be sick. So.
yeah, definitely excited. Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to shut down for our minute silence at the moment, and then after that we'll get it off the dyno, and Josh's going to take it for a strap down the road, so we'll jump in the back and go for a cruise. But seems pretty happy. Once again, we tried adding another degree of timing up the top, and it just didn't respond. It's not making any more power, so that's pretty staunch for a pretty stock big port, so I'm led to believe. So Josh tells me. So no, that'll be good. It's going to be a pretty cool little car, just like I thought. Still having problems with this Microtech as far as the TPS, jumping in and out of cow. Same problems we've had with just about every Microtech we've had to tune. So, like I kept saying, it's that thing where it's old and it's not the best, but it's going to do the trick. And it's tuned. It's got a tune on it for £7. So I'm honestly surprised that this thing turns that turbo that well.
Yeah, like a lot of people have been saying to me that turbo is
way too big.
Yeah,
Like, that's what I thought.
And it was just, in all honesty, like I knew sort of from day dot, I was like, I know I'm going to be experiencing a little bit of lag, but like they're a top end motor, so I was a bit happy when.
Yes, what I mean. They're rev happy anyway, and it's a light car, so it's going to be.
It's just, I sort of wanted that effect that once a boost comes on, people know, they're like, oh yeah, okay, that thing's obviously high stock, so.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely, excited as all shit, man.
Yeah. Sweet. Oh well, we'll jump in for a ride soon. Righto guys, so we have had all sorts of really, really strange issues today with this thing. So we got it to 7 PSI, we had our runs, like I showed you, we had like 164 horsepower, or 163, whatever it was. We were stoked, everything was sweet. We thought that'll do it for Saturday because obviously, you know, we try not to tune too much on Saturday because of the neighbours and stuff. We want to keep everyone in our good books. Or we want to keep in everyone's good books, I should say. So we turned it off, started sort of packing up, went to start it again, and the thing was just, didn't want to run. It was showing lean as idle, like lean. 2 coil packs just stopped working, so we didn't have spark on 1 and 2, so it was running on 2 cylinders. We thought maybe it could have been just not enough fuel in the tank, so we chucked a bit more fuel in it. Tried a few things. I pulled a bit of dwell out of those coil packs just because I thought it could be heat. It had like 4.5 milliseconds or whatever it is in the Microtech, so I pulled that back to 3 because at 7 PSI on individual coil packs, it does not need that much dwell. It does not need that much ignition power, so hopefully that keeps a bit of heat out of them coil packs and we don't have any more issues, but it's weird that they just stopped working and then they randomly started working again. Then we finally got it running again and it was hunting real bad, going into lean, rich at idle. Couldn't get it to idle properly. It was really, really strange. Eventually it just came good. We put it in diagnostic mode just to check the injectors a few times, and we did forget to disconnect the fuel pump or unplug it, so it dumped a heap of fuel then, and then it took a while for it to clear up the fuel and actually start again. And then it sort of just randomly we had to put a bit more fuel in the idle map to get it to idle properly, but then it just sort of went back to normal out of nowhere. So that was all real weird. We then decided that because we had to change a few things, the dwell in that, and how weird the Microtech was doing things, I thought I want to run it up again just to make sure it's okay. We ran it up again, it was super lean. So did another check, super lean, did a bit of steady state, seemed all right. We put another just 10% into the entire mixed trim map. So across the whole map, we just added another 10%. And got it back down to where it's supposed to be, or it was a bit rich then, so we pulled a little bit back out. So we ended up having to put a bit more in the complete mix map after all that, which is weird. So I don't know what's going on. The Microtech seems to just be, I don't know what it's doing. It's all over the shop. It's very strange. I'm very glad that we're putting an AFR gauge in for Josh because that way he's going to be able to look at it himself and keep an eye on it, because it just definitely seems like that ECU's doing weird stuff, which I can't understand. But it was good having Josh here because he pointed out a few things just before he left before that we probably should be looking at. So the 4Age actually has, here is a cold start injector. So this is actually like a secondary injector for cold start. And as you guys know, we've left the stock ECU intact and we've piggybacked it. So this could be playing into a lot of problems with it dipping into lean and rich idle. It's not too lean. It's only like a 12.5. Like it's not that lean, but it just keeps dipping in from 10s, 12s. Like it's doing all sorts of weird stuff. So we're going to look at trying to just completely disconnect and block that injector, block the fuel feed to it, just completely delete that cold start injector from the system. And hopefully that's going to help our idle situation. But obviously we need to then double check again that wasn't playing a part in the tune at all. So obviously deleting something that's adding fuel, we then need to run it up again and just make sure that the tune's all right still. So we're going to have a bit more work on it just to make sure it's consistent and happy. I did have a theory that I'm a bit worried that it could be vacuum changes. There's a whole lot of vacuum activated solenoids connected to all the stock stuff. And I'm a bit worried that vacuum activated stuff may be lowering and dropping the base pressure at idle under vacuum. Normally for this amount of boost, we'd definitely try and tune without a vacuum reference to the AFR gauge, just because, without a vacuum reference to the reg, just because it can be a problem. I've explained it before in a few videos, but it can cause an issue later on down the track. And obviously, where I'm worried about in here is it changes in vacuum, maybe altering the base pressure at idle, which could be affecting our idle mixture. So normally we'd like to just disconnect it and tune it at base pressure. At 7 psi, your pressure differential is not going to get to a point where you need a rising rate reg. It's not that much boost pressure. But because these injectors are so big for this motor, we sort of need that vacuum reference to the reg. We need it to pull that base pressure out of it at idle, because otherwise it's going to be a real hard thing to control at idle with these massive injectors. So it's just one of those things where it's a bit of a catch-22. We are just going to have to work with it. Yeah, and just try and keep it. Even before it was going lean, it still wasn't. It was only going sort of 14s, 13.5, 14s though. So like I was saying to Josh, is that if he's going to have the AFR gauge, if it does start playing up and doing that, that's still fine as long as he keeps it off boost. As long as he babies it around, he can still get it around even if it starts playing up and doing that sort of thing. But we did end up on one run where we got it just a little bit leaner. It's a lot closer to our 11.8s. We did make 166 at the wheels, but we just put a little bit back in. I'm pretty sure. No, we didn't. That's where we left it today. So today it's 166. But yeah, we'll keep chasing it during the week, which I'll keep adding to the same video. I'm going to do the same thing where I want to make another long second part video to this. So this will be filmed probably over the week. But yeah, there's a few things we've got to look at, which I'm not going to bother with today because there's too much noise and work and it's Saturday. But yeah, got a bit of work to do during the week, including getting the AFR gauge in and yeah, having to play around with a bit of that stuff and trying to get this thing running a bit better and more, well, not better, but more consistent is the key. We just need to try and figure out what the Microtech's doing, try and make sure it's going to be consistent and not going to do weird stuff like that. But anyway, that's it for today. What's up guys? Back today, trying to sort out this freaking Corolla again. This morning has been a story, so get ready for this narrative. So, as I explained to you in the last clip you would have watched in this video, Josh pointed out to us that these things actually have a cold start injector, which we were, like I said, a bit worried about that it could be playing a bit of a part in our idle issues as far as the lean and rich changing in the idle. So first thing I did when I got here this morning was disconnect that. It does have a little line off the rail that goes to the injector, which is that one there, which is a banjo bolt. And I did want to completely disconnect that line just in case there was a problem with the injector leaking or anything like that. The problem is I pulled that banjo bolt out. It's an M8x1, which is a bit of a weird thread pitch for the size. Could not find an M8x1 bolt that we have. So unfortunately just had to connect that back up and just leave it unplugged and sort of just hope, because we don't have a bolt the right thread to plug the hole in the rail. So I did that for starters. That was all good. What I did with our issues that we were having with the TPS, with it keeping on jumping in and out of calibration and doing weird stuff all the time, I sort of thought I should probably just unpin all the TPS wires relative to the stock ECU out of the stock ECU plug, just because it might have been, playing a part. It might have been trying to send 5 volts up a wrong sort of line and messing with the Microtech or anything. Could have been anything like that. So that was the second thing I did this morning, was I depinned all of the TPS wires from the stock ECU plug, pulled them all out just so that it was just the Microtech controlling the TPS. But then it did exactly the same thing. So it's nothing to do with the stock ECU. Josh's dad, the bloke who owns this car, his old man, he has a pretty colourful history in performance cars. He's done a lot of work, been in the industry for a long time pretty much. He's not anymore, but I had a chat to him last night because he had some pretty good points to point out to me. One thing he said that they used to have a lot of issues with Toyota with the TPSs when they would get hot. So he sort of pointed out to me that I just check the temperature of the TPS when it's jumping in and out of calibration and doing funny stuff like that. But what I found is while I was messing around with all those wires and trying to do all that and checking everything, it was doing it completely cold. Like we're not even running the car. TPS is the same temperature, still the same thing. So it definitely seems to be something wrong with either that TPS or the Microtech. Haven't really narrowed it down to either one of those two. But considering that there was no issues with the car before we wired in the Microtech of the TPS that we were aware of, I'm willing to bet that it's a Microtech, especially considering the history we've had with Microtechs and the problems with the ECUs themselves. So that leads me into the third problem of today, which is we started it up and we had another dead coil, and another miss pretty much. So number 2 just wasn't firing at all. We checked with a test lamp on the coil. We weren't getting any any signal pretty much to the negative side of that trigger wire. So what we did a continuity test on our trigger wire to make sure it wasn't a short or anything in there. And yeah, we've got continuity on that trigger wire. So we've checked our wiring's good, we've got pin continuity all the way back to the pin on the igniter. So we then checked with the ECU and the test lamp to make sure it was actually firing out of the igniter box, and it's not firing number 2 out of the igniter box. Now we've traced that all the way back to the fact that it's actually not firing out of the ECU. So we're fairly confident that the igniter box isn't the problem, it's actually the ECU. But yeah, it's just not firing number 2. The ECU has just stopped firing number 2. So, you know, we actually changed number 1 and 2 coil over. So we changed the wiring on 1 and 2 coil and changed the plug leads over just to isolate the problem, and it moved. So it actually it stayed on 2, but on a different coil. So it's not the coil, it was definitely either something in the wiring or the ignition. And yeah, we've chased our wiring, we've got continuity, and we've used a test lamp to isolate it back to pretty much the ECU. So not too confident on the igniter box, but we're pretty sure the problem of it not triggering is in the ECU. Well, not pretty sure, we're absolutely sure. So again, that's, you know, classic history we've had with Microtechs of just having problems with the ECUs, and it's just pretty much kills the motivation to well, not even that, it's just that we literally can't do anything, because it's one of those things where we can chase these problems all day, and chances are it's going to come back to the fact that it's a problem with the ECU, which is not something we can do anything about, and it's not something that we can test or know for sure because we don't have the means to do it. So pretty much at this point it's just going to be, that's as far as we can go with it. What Josh is going to have to do is probably send the ECU back to Microtech and get it tested and make sure it's okay. From what his old man was saying, it sounds like he knows the guy that is Microtech, or that made the company. So as much as we've all never had any luck getting onto any tech support or getting onto anyone from Microtech, he might actually have a bit of a window to get the ECU tested if his old man knows him. So that's pretty much what we're up to with the car, unfortunately. So I really wanted to run it back up with that cold start injector disconnected just to make sure the tune was still good. I'm pretty confident it's still going to be fine, but with that miss, we're going to have no data that we can go off anyway, because it's not going to read correctly because it's missing, it's not firing on number 2. And because the ECU only has 4 channels for ignition, we can't even just like pin it to another channel and try and trick it or do anything. Not that I reckon we'd be successful doing that anyway because of the way the Microtechs come pre-configured, but there's just no means to do it. So yeah, unfortunately it just seems to be a problem with the ECU. Oh, the other thing is I chased the tacho all morning as well, trying to get the tacho to work. I tried a few different things, everything I could find on the internet. From what I could find online, most people were saying that when they convert these things to like a 4A GZE or something like that, they reckon that the tacho signal's different. You need to buy a converter box. So it would certainly appear that to get the Microtech or anything to work on the stock tacho, you need some sort of converter box or a what do you call it? A resistor box or something like that. Same thing that Adam had to go through to get his tacho and his Cressy working. I've known Toyotas to be a problematic thing with that. I did manage to get from the negative side of the positive coil to a few of I found the tacho wire for the old igniter for the single core setup, and I managed to get the tacho to read something, but it's not correct, it's not reading right. So the tacho wire is there in that old single coil plug. There is a tacho signal wire there, but the ECU, we've tested it. The ECU tacho out doesn't talk to it, doesn't make the tacho work. But yeah, just taking off the negative side of the positive coil does the tacho reads just not right. So again, that's going to be another thing that's not really up to us, but that's pretty much where we're at with the car, is we can't get the tacho to work. The ECU seems to be a bit of a problematic thing, and yeah, it's dropped that coil too, and I'm pretty sure the TPS issue is within the ECU as well. So yeah, we've racked our brains trying to figure out even if there's a way that we could configure it to be just fire on 2 channels as wasted spark setup, and even then there's not much we can do if it's not firing on that channel 4 on the ECU, because we can't. From what I understand about Microtech, from everything I can read and everything I know about the software, is that you can't actually reconfigure them to like a firing pattern, and you can't reconfigure them to a CAS input. That's a Microtech pre-configured thing. So yeah, there's nothing we can do as far as our means of what we can do and our abilities and what we have access to. We've pretty much exhausted all of our options to get this thing to be right. We're confident the tune's fine. I'm sure if we give it back to Josh, as long as he can get that ECU to Microtech and get it sorted out and like just plug it back in, I'm confident it's going to be fine. And he's going to have his AFR gauge in it to double check anyway. But unfortunately, there's just nothing else we can do with this car. You know, we've already spent, this is like day number 5. We've spent trying to chase these issues. And again, it was only really quoted for 2 days maximum. And it sucks for Josh that it's not running right still, but at the same time, it's a problem that's sort of out of our reach as far as what we can do about it. And we've just spent that much time on it. We've got to draw the line somewhere as far as how much time we actually spend on this thing, because we're not getting any extra money for it or anything. It's just us trying to sort it out. And we've got other cars waiting that we need to get sorted. We've got to sort that Hilux. We've got other cars coming in tomorrow. So unfortunately, that's just where it is. So still going to wire in his AFR gauge, and obviously weld in the bung to his dump pipe and do all that. So it'll come off the dyno now and go onto the hoist, and I'll do that today. And after that, I'm not going to worry about cleaning up the wiring in the footwell there for the Microtech or anything like that at this point, just because I'm unsure on what Josh will want to do about it. So it seems like a bit of a waste of time me going through the effort of doing that, because I'm not sure if he's still exploring different options for another ECU, or whether he wants to send this to Microtech to try and get it fixed, or tested at least. So I'm just going to leave it and yeah, just fit the AFR gauge and get that sorted, and then we'll talk to Josh about what he wants to do about it. But that's where we are. And to be fair and completely honest, I don't think I'll ever take on another Microtech job like this again. I'm happy to still tune Microtechs as long as they're already in the car and running, but yeah, I don't think we'd ever be doing something like this again. Nor would a lot of other auto sparkies, which is why we decided to try and give it a go for Josh. But yeah, Microtech's just one of those things where a lot of people don't want to touch them for this exact reason, pretty much, as far as I can understand. Obviously, awesome ECUs for back in their day, but you got to remember, Microtech, this is like 90s, like early 2000s. This is old technology. This is like Windows 98 stuff. Like this is real old school compared to the newer ECUs these days. They're completely on 2 different worlds as far as their capabilities and what they are. Not to mention just literally the physical age of these ECUs. They are starting to go like this and have problems with the boards and the wires and things going wrong. Same issue, like like I said, this is not the first Microtech we've had these issues with, where we've had just problems with the ECUs. Had it with Rex's, had a few issues with mine that weren't so severe in my 31, but it worked all right. And yeah, and we've had issues with the one that Adam had in his Cressy as well. Same thing, where they're just inside the ECU, the actual trigger for the fuel pump was broken. So just heaps of stuff like that where it's just old school stuff. But anyway, at least the tune's good. It made good power, so we know it's capable. It's just that the ECU needs fixing. Right, it's got the Corolla up here on the hoist. That's where I put his bung for his AFR gauge. I wired in the actual gauge in the car before I put it on the hoist. But yeah, there's a fair few sort of leaks and a few things that Josh is going to have to look at and put his air filter on as well. So that's the actual intake, the way it's going to be set up. But yeah, he's got some pretty savage leaks from this CV boot, which has got grease everywhere like that, you can see there. So that's spinning grease all up over everything. But yeah, a few things to look at, but yeah, there's not much until this ECU sort of problem sorted out anyway. But anyway, that's that AFR is now ready to. I'll drop it down, and you got to do a calibration sequence with the Innovate, so it actually calibrates to the sensor in open air, and then we'll chuck the sensor in the bung, and then we should be right to go. And that is going to be pretty much almost the end of this thing for us for now. Righto, guys, we're all wired in, sorted. Yeah, the sensor's in its nice little hole down there. We've got the gauge up here, which covers the hole that Josh wanted it to cover up. And it's reading a lean condition at the moment, just because of that one cylinder that's not firing. So give it a minute for the sensor to warm up. There you go. That's AFR gauge in there. So you get a lean condition if you got one cylinder that's not firing because of all the unburnt air. It actually gives you a lean reading. But yeah, so when it's actually idling, it's jumping between. We had it idling at a 12.8, which is exactly where we want it to be idling. But yeah, when it's dropping in and out, it's going from 12.8 right back to 10s. So it's getting real rich. So like we're talking about it like it's a big problem, but it's not actually. It's not a problem that it's idling rich. It's obviously not going to hurt it at all, but it's just a pain in the ass that we can't get it to stop doing it or figure out why it's doing it. So, but anyway, that's pretty much it for the little Corolla. Bit of a pain. I really wanted to like get some footage of driving this thing on the road. Josh wanted to take it for a drive the other day after we tuned it, but obviously he didn't get a chance to because of the issues we had. But yeah, I would really have liked to get some footage of this thing ripping it up on the road, because I reckon this thing is going to be awesome when it's actually running properly, when it's all sorted out. So that's about all we can do for now on this car. I will just do a little bit of tidy up inside in the cabin there. But I'm not going to worry about completely tidying up the wiring to the Microtech at the moment. I'll have a chat to Josh tonight, figure out what he wants to do about it, and we'll go from there. So yeah, hopefully we'll see this thing back here soon, either with the Microtech working properly or with a new ECU setup. He is talking about going to a better ECU. It's just, it's the same thing where, you know, the car was built on a tight budget. He doesn't want to go throwing heaps of money at it at the moment. But yeah, that was the whole purpose of us doing this with the Microtech and everything. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame that we can't get it to work properly, but it just seems to be a problem with that ECU, which is, unfortunately, there's not really much that we can do about it. So that's where it's going to be. Made good power though. It was good tune. Everything was pretty good. So pretty stoked with how it all went. It's just the fact that this ECU is a pain in the ass. But yeah, hopefully we can see this thing back soon and it's getting around soon. Hopefully Josh can actually start enjoying it very soon. So I'll have a chat to him. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate everyone who watches. Smash like, smash subscribe, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace out.